Hello Freedom Seekers, Jeremy Chambers, Independence Acres Homestead. Once again we've had a little bit of a slowdown on video production, but we're hoping to get that changed a little bit, but the weather is not cooperating. That's okay though, we've still got a lot going on. Today we're going to talk about our maple syrup harvest, some of the trouble that we ran into during harvest and maple syruping season. We're going to be finishing up and bottling, jarring up some of our maple syrup, and I'm going to show you one way that I like to use it during the season. So this year's syrup season has been pretty good. We had a pretty decent sap flow for most of the season. However, the weather completely ruined it about a week ago. Sap stopped flowing, temperature went up, trees started to bud, and then it decided to snow again today. So, you never know what's going to happen. But we decided to go ahead and shut down a little early on sap season. Like I said, the sap stopped flowing. It might flow again this next week, but we decided we were done. The number one reason was because, well, I was exhausted. Number two, I had ran out of firewood and I had to go get some firewood out of the back, and that caused some trouble for me. Well, the sap has stopped flowing here in southeast Michigan, but I still have about 40 gallons of sap to boil down, but I ran out of firewood over the weekend. So I decided it was a great day, sun's shining, birds were singing, let's go outside and get some firewood. Well, getting out and cutting it wasn't so bad, but I had a little bit of a problem getting back in. Definitely have some cleaning up to do. I'm gonna have to fill that in. Thank goodness for the winch I have on my four-wheeler. Without it, I'd still be back here stuck. So after that disaster of a firewood trip, I had to spend about an hour, hour and a half washing off the ATV and the wagon. And believe it or not, I actually had to wash off the wood before I could split it. So I had to wait a full 24 hours for it to dry a little bit before I could finish. But got it done and finished up that last 30 gallons, 40 some odd gallons of syrup, of sap, and now we're finishing that up into syrup today. Like I said, it's been a pretty good season. We've already put about 3¼ gallons of maple syrup onto our pantry shelf downstairs. The next step here for me is I gotta watch this like a hawk because I don't want it to boil over, because that just makes a mess, catches things on fire. Don't ask me how I know, but I know this will be bad if this boils over. Shelly's over there laughing in the background because our first batch of syrup that we boiled down, I'm glad I didn't have a camera running because you guys would probably never watch a video again. It boiled over, it was smoking, we had windows open, we were putting paper towels on it to try to soak up the sap before it can burn, and literally the paper towels combusted. I mean, poof, flames everywhere. It was a little freaky, but we obviously we didn't burn the house down, but we got it taken care of. But that batch cost a little more than just my time and energy. I think I lost a few years of my life by watching that paper towel combust before my eyes. But anyway, all right, let's get back into the syrup here. So when you're boiling down your sap, doing that final boil, which we like to do inside the kitchen here so I have a little more control over it, there's a couple instruments that make this job a lot easier to make sure that you're getting down to actual syrup. The first one is a thermometer, and you can see we've got this set, it's right now it's about 217, and I've got the alarm set for 223. So normally sap becomes syrup when your sugar concentration causes the boiling point of the liquid to get to about 9 degrees over your normal boiling temperature for just straight water. However, we've had some pressure issues, and this is going to fluctuate based upon barometric pressure, based upon elevation, so there's a lot of things that are going to change that temperature. So we've been aiming for about 221, but the alarm goes off at 223 because that lets me know that I've gone too far. But at about 221 I start checking the sugar content, and so what is required for that is this tool here, and this is a Bomb and Bricks scale, and basically you fill this tube, this stainless steel test tube, up with what you hope to be the finished syrup, And you slowly drop this in here, and you see that red line right there? That's the red line, right? That's the red line at 211 degrees. If that red line is floating at the top of the cup, you know that you've reached the proper sugar density for your sap to become syrup 100%. Now, if you're measuring at room temperature, which they say about 60 degrees, it's going to measure at that bottom red line, because we know things get more viscous, right, more fluid at warmer temperatures. So if you're going to test it cold, you're going to want it at that 67 Brix mark right there, right? And if you're testing it warm, you want it at that 59 Brix mark. We like to use the combination of temperature and the hydrometer because that gets us the best idea. You can just go by temperature, but you're going to be off by a few measurements when it comes to the Brix scale. And so you might be off by a few percentage points for that sugar content. So it's important to use both. The last thing that becomes invaluable when you are making maple syrup is some type of filter, because you want to filter out any impurities, any solids that are in your syrup before you put it in jars, so it stays nice and clear, you know, for its storage life. And they make special maple syrup filters, but honestly, those work really well for people who are doing mass production. We're small scale. At most, we're going to have maybe 5 gallons of syrup this year. So for us, we like to use cooking oil filters. These are a non-woven filter material, and they're made for using in like the turkey fryers to filter the oil when you're done frying your turkeys or whatever you're using to fry outside. But we found they work really well for syrup also, to filter out all those impurities and to make sure that we get that nice crystal clear syrup that we like to pour on our pancakes without any lumps or chunks or, you know, impurities floating around in there. So this taller pot of nearly syrup is sitting right at about 65 to 66 on the Brix scale, which is right where we want to be for room temperature syrup. And we're going to get up to temperature because we like to jar all of our syrup using the hot pack method. So we want the syrup up to temperature, the jars up to about 180 degrees, the lid's hot and everything, so we get a nice seal so they're shelf stable for at least a year, but possibly even longer. So the larger pot has reached the correct temperature. It's reached the correct 59% on, or 59 Brix on the Brix scale, so we know it is ready to get jarred up. Jars are in the oven, sitting at about 180 degrees. Lids are warmed up. Let's get this done. Well, the second pot of syrup has reached temperature and viscosity to start getting it in jars. Gonna get that done, and then it's gonna be time to take a break and make a coffee drink. Well, we finished up all of the jarring of our maple syrup. We ended up with just a little over 2¼ gallons, so we should be good for a while. That puts us total over 5 gallons of maple syrup that we have stored up in our basement, ready to use for the next year. And in this little jar here, this is the cast-offs. Everything that was left over after cleaning up. You know, not the purest, not the greatest maple syrup, has a little bit of sugar sand in it, some mineral content, but it still tastes great. So this is what we're going to be using to make our maple syrup coffee today. I'm going to do this while Shelly's cleaning up. There's a lot of cleanup to do whenever you make maple syrup. So like I said, we use our maple syrup in a variety of ways here, not just on pancakes, waffles, and French toast. We like to cook with it, we like to make drinks with it, we like to just, I mean honestly, I've kind of got a sugar high right now from licking all the utensils that we use to make the maple syrup. But one of the things that I really like to do is to make a blended maple syrup coffee. Now, some of these ingredients might be a little so-so for you, but I want you to give it a try. Keep an open mind. I started off with this recipe based on the Bulletproof coffee, which is, you know, butter, coffee, MCT oil, and coconut oil. I forget exactly, but you know, it's just an idea to add some good fats into your daily diet. And I kind of modified it a little bit because I like a little bit of sweet in my coffee. So let's go over the ingredient list real quick. First of all, brew some coffee the way you like it. Stronger the better in my opinion, however, you know, whatever. I'm using coffee brewed to the 4-cup mark on my coffee maker. 2 tablespoons of the cast-off syrup. Now this is, you can use any syrup, I just don't want to see this yummy goodness go to waste. So I'm going to be using the stuff that's not quite perfect, not quite clear, but still works well. Second thing we're going to be using is some Kerrygold grass-fed butter. You can use any butter, but unsalted is best. That way you're not getting additional salt in your diet that you don't need. And then some type of milk. You can use almond milk, coconut milk, whatever kind of milk that you like to use. I'm just going to use regular old cow's milk, vitamin D, whole milk from the store, because that's what I have. Usually I use almond milk for this, but you can use any milk that you are comfortable with. Last thing is the utensils that you're going to need. I use a stainless steel mixing cup to blend it in, and an immersion hand blender. You can use a regular blender if you want. This is just a little easier to clean up in my opinion. All right, so the first thing we're going to put into the mixing cup, 2 tablespoons of, we use grass-fed unsalted butter. Like I said, about 2 tablespoons. You can adjust this based upon what you want. You can add a little more, a little less. These are just base measurements, right? All right, 2 tablespoons of butter. Next is 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Maple syrup just, it sweetens it. It also gives just this wonderful kind of caramel flavor to it. And I like a little extra. So like I said, that 2 tablespoons of base, I'm gonna add just a little bit more because I really like my maple syrup. All right, I'm gonna leave the spoon in there for right now. Set that aside. I'm gonna put in about 1/4 cup of milk of your choice. And then we're going to add freshly brewed coffee. Like I said, this is a 30-ounce mixing cup, and I'm using to the 4-cup line on my coffee pot. And you can kind of see that butter floating on the top. When I use our immersion blender, I use it on the highest setting and just, whoops. First you gotta take the spoon out. Don't blend your spoon. I just give it a quick stir just to make sure I get all the syrup off of the spoon. Waste not, want not. Now let's give it a blend. Here we go. The blend so it's nice and pouring. The most important thing here is that we get this nice foam on the top. And this is where we get that kind of a mock macchiato. And I'm going to pour right here into my beautiful Homesteaders of America mug. We're going to get that foam on the top. And there we go. It is a nice, sweet, caramely blended coffee drink. Oh man, it's so good. Creamy, sweet, caramely, so tasty. Anyway, the reason why I chose the Homesteaders of America mug today is because I want to let you guys know that we will be participating in classes, lectures, in the Homesteaders of America hands-on workshop event that's going on in Tennessee at the end of April, April 28th and 29th. And we're really excited to be doing this again for the 2nd year. We're going to be talking about meat rabbits. We're also going to have a vendor booth there, so feel free to stop by, chat with us, let us know how your homestead's going. Another thing is that we will also be at the October event. That is on their website at homesteadersofamerica.com. We will be once again lecturing on meat rabbits, and we will also have our hands-on workshop that goes on that Thursday before. So if you're interested in getting into meat rabbits, but you're not quite sure how to get started, and you want somebody to walk you through the process of dispatch, processing, and even how to use the rabbit, that might be the class that you want to get involved in. So check it out at the Homesteaders of America website. Like I said, you can get tickets for both events there, and you can also sign up and register for our meat rabbit workshop the day before the conference. We appreciate you guys so much for joining us. We hope that you found this interesting, entertaining, and educational, or at least one of those 3 things. Thanks so much for joining us on our journey, and until next time, God bless.